Cool. Well, thank you for introducing yourself. I wish we had a real estate major when I went to college. I'll just say that.
I was gonna say that's new. I don't remember that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool though. Amber, would you like to start, ladies
Oh no,
first?
go ahead because I'm
Oh,
gonna be.
okay. All right.
I'll talk. I'm
So
talking a lot after this, so I'll let you start, Andrew.
very true. Okay. So my name is Andrew Becker. I'm the CEO and the co-founder of Billions. My background is I actually started in real estate in 2013 in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area known as the DMV. Built a pretty successful team. When I left, I'm not in real estate sales anymore, but our team was like 25, 30 people. We are closing like 30 to 50 deals a month, depending on the economy and what was happening. The reason I wound up, putting Billions together was out of frustration, like a lot of founders. What we needed to run our team just didn't exist, so we kind of set out to build it ourselves, and then we said, hey, we might have something here, and we started selling it commercially to real estate teams across the United States. I met Amber very early on in the Billions journey. She started with helping me do data migration for the first few teams that came over, and then she joined me shortly thereafter.
Uh, so hi, I'm Amber. I actually have kind of a weird history. My degree's in political science, but I did social work right out of college, and then ended up at a tech company called Viva when I moved to San Francisco in 2012. 2012. And ended up in my first tech job. Viva happens to be a Salesforce partner. They sell to pharmaceutical companies. And I worked there for a while, and then I went to Okta, which does like identity access management stuff. And then DocuSign, which some of you might have heard of, that does e-signature. Also, when I was in college, I did work at a real estate company as like an admin. My mom has worked for title companies my whole life, so I have some real estate background there. And then right towards the end of the pandemic, I quit my job and I started consulting, and that's how I met Andrew. And so I come from like more of the tech and the operation side, the software side. And that's, we met because I was doing some consulting. But also, how long was it, Andrew? 2 years before we actually met in person?
Yeah, we actually met in person last, May, I think. We
Uh-huh.
had only Zoomed from the start of our relationship together.
Yeah. So remote is possible,
Right.
apparently. And I live in Las Vegas, so it's 70 degrees here and really nice, but it's going to be about 125 in the summer, and then you guys can all laugh at me for living here. So that's a little bit about us. If you guys want to pull your phones out, I'll have this QR code up in the next slide too, but I know everybody has their phones next to them, so if you want to scan the QR code. I know there's only a couple of you, but we've got some like polling and interactive stuff in here. Um, so the first poll, if it pops up on your phone, you can scan that QR code, is what would you rather be doing right now than this?
Seriously, Amber? Probably today it's at home. It's raining.
Well, that's fair. Yeah. If
No one
anyone
can
can,
see it.
This
if
has a
anyone,
purpose, we promise.
yeah, if anyone can guess what my choice would be,
Oh, I know. I
uh,
know. The pets.
yeah, Kenya's right. The pets. It's the pets. Oh, eating. Okay, sweet. All right.
Eating.
Nobody
Okay.
got the right answer, which was nowhere. I would rather be here. I'm kidding. Um, so yes, I have two dogs and they're currently trying to break into my office. But it's just a fun poll that we added. Um, so the next serious question is, which of these things have you heard of? Because we're going to talk a little bit about some of these and how they play into our space. If you haven't heard of any, that's cool. That's totally fine. Oh, someone's heard of snap dogs. All right. It's always interesting to see which ones have like none in here. Cool. Well, I'm glad that some of you have heard of DocuSign because I used to work there. SnapDocs is definitely huge in the real estate space, and Salesforce is an interesting one. So I asked that question because Billions is built on Salesforce. And so this is kind of common and somewhat controversial in tech, but As you can read here, there's some benefits, right, of building on Salesforce. My first tech company was also built on Salesforce. They're currently in the process of deplatforming onto their own platform, which has taken them 10 years to accomplish. We built on Salesforce. It's fast. There's lots of resources in this space to hire, to build out for you if you're not a technical person. You also get the name behind you, which people associate with things like really good uptime and really good support, good data privacy practices, which in the real estate space has become somewhat controversial and a little bit more visible. If you've heard of Zillow and Follow Up Boss, they did a merger, and people have been jumping ship away from Follow Up Boss because of Zillow's data privacy. So that's just something unique about us and the way we build. There are some cons, right? We have to pay Salesforce a fee. So that's, a con. And we're subject to, upgrades and things that they do and decisions that they make. And we don't have a lot of clout with them, right? We're kind of small. And even if we were large, they're definitely larger. So, as you're thinking about like tech and things in the real estate space, Salesforce is becoming a little bit more prevalent in the real estate space. Whether they buy something like Billions or they just buy straight from Salesforce and they try to build it out. It's definitely a thing that people are getting interested in because of some of these benefits. So what is Billions? I'm going to talk fast through this slide because Andrew's going to actually show it to you, which I think is a lot more interesting. A lot of people will call us a CRM. Salesforce is at its core a CRM, but we incorporate a lot of other things that real estate tools in this space don't do. We cover marketing, analytics, transaction management, and a lot of tools in the real estate space do one of those things. And a lot of tools in the real estate space call themselves a CRM, but to be totally blunt, they're kind of a glorified Rolodex. And I'm old enough to know what a Rolodex is, and you might not know that reference. But we try to be a very holistic set of tools for a real estate team. And we talk about teams a lot because that's who we sell to, not really the casual agent. Andrew mentioned, his team was doing 30 plus transactions a month. That's the kind of volume a team does. And that's the kind of buyer that would be interested in Billions. So one of the things that we talk about quite often with prospective customers is that we don't do one thing. We are involved in the entire transaction life cycle, of a real estate customer. And so those of you that are in real estate or what you've learned in your class, right? This probably looks kind of familiar. You have a lead, they set an appointment, they sign a contract with you, they go into escrow, then they close. Skipped over a lot of details in there, but the blue points on this slide are features that we have in Billions that helps with each of those touch points that you'd have with a client. And a lot of tools in this space, for example, Follow Up Boss, they're heavily focused on leads and maybe appointments. And then you have SnapDocs, right? They're document management for the transaction process. We connect all those things together so that at the end of the day, they get some really interesting analytics about their business. And that's something that a lot of tools don't provide in this space. And sometimes people will add on a tool that's specific for analytics and they really struggle with it because they've got sort of data all over the place. All right, I'm going to shut up and I'm going to let Andrew actually show this to you.
Cool. Amber, before you start that, if you could give me like 2 seconds. One thing I will just add, Amber mentioned that we're for teams. Billions kind of goes back to what in real estate or just in tech in general is called the build or buy model. You can either build it all yourself, trial and error, hire developers, figure out what softwares to kind of piece together or integrate, or you can go out and get a pre-built system. And that's what Billions tries to be and is for real estate teams. It's your entire day-to-day operations, like Amber said, from the time a lead comes in all the way through close and everything in between. And it's a system where you don't have to what we call tab hop or go into other third-party softwares. You can house everything in Billions, from telephone calls getting recorded, text messages, direct mail, document management, commission management, everything about a team. So you can get Billions tomorrow without having to go through what I went through. We were on like 8 different platforms before we built what eventually became Billions, but that's the general idea here. Think, you can figure out if you want to open up a burger joint and figure out everything about it, or go franchise a Five Guys and have everything you need in a blueprint framework tomorrow, right? That's what Billions is for teams. So Amber's about to play a demo of us walking you through. I'm going to try to talk over it as best that I can, and we'll see how this goes. Okay, cool. So you're at 33.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is Salesforce, and this is what the team members do the same way, the same time, every single time a lead needs to go from one phase to the next. So this is the first form. This is the intake form. It's called the new lead form. This can either be automated or you can put it in yourself. You hit submit, you have all the contact info, where it came from, etc., and it opens up this new raw lead in the system. This will also alert people automatically and task people automatically. Everything is nice and organized. Us being on Salesforce also allows for customization of fields, page layouts, etc. Next in the real estate life cycle is an appointment. So I opened up in the right side of the screen the appointment form. I filled it in, the who, what, where, when, why, and I clicked save. This will automatically move it to the appointment stage, and it records that this is an open house lead source. Another open house lead source set by Andrew, the appointment setter, was just recorded into Billions. Then this platform will say, okay, well, Billions, who do you want to give this to? Because on a team, you typically have people who set appointments and agents who go on the appointment. So in this case, we're going to have Dan, the real estate agent, go on it. By assigning it to him, it automatically gives him access to this lead. It also puts it directly on his calendar and invites him to that appointment for whenever it might be. And because we store and record all communications, both outbound and inbound, Dan can now come in to one spot and listen to every call and bring himself up to speed. Get ready for the appointment and then go on it. This is the post-appointment or outcome form. He tells Billions and team leaders what the heck happened on the appointment. Did he sign it? Did he not? Did he give them a listing agreement to sign? All the team members are automatically updated along the way every single time one of these forms is getting submitted. Now, kind of like an iPhone, you click on listing sign form to tell Billions exactly what just happened with this particular lead. So this is all taken from the listing agreement paperwork. You fill it in and click save. This will go, for example, directly to the marketing team in real time, the second after you click save, to say, hey, we're doing all of this marketing initiatives for this particular listing that we have. So they can get to work right away without having to wait on the agent. Now we're in an agreement. So this is a listing agreement. The default for a listing agreement, once you sign it, is off market coming soon. You do what you do to have it go active, and then you tell the system it's active. Now it automatically moves to the active stage. You hold it open, you hold open houses, you market it, you get offers, and eventually you will go what's called under escrow or pending. This is the contract between the listing agent and the seller. All these different dates and monies and deadlines and people are in this escrow form. You click save, that goes to the right people on the team automatically. Now it moves from active to pending. This is the last and final step in Billions. It creates an escrow. It's called contract to close or transaction coordination or transaction management. All the different deadlines that have to happen, the inspections, the financing have to get through to close. And then you finally close. This is the last step. You fill in a closing form. This acts as the transaction receipt for how much money was made at the top line, how many people on your team got paid out, and what was the monetary pay. And then all the way at the bottom, you get your net revenue. You click save and it moves it from pre-closing to post-closing. The agreement then moves from pending to close, and you go all the way back to Andrew, the lead, and he's marked as a past client. All the while this is happening, there are 135 different reports across 8 different dashboards that are telling managers and owners of the team what is working in terms of, lead source. So we're spending a lot of money on Zillow. Is it returning money? We're doing a lot of direct mail. This happened to be an open house. Amber, the appointment setter, just procured another appointment that closed a deal that brought in $15,000. So we're tracking that as well. So not only tell you what's working and what's not from a marketing perspective, but also a team member perspective as well. And there's a lot of different reports that we could talk about, but generally those are the kind of reports that you want to know to be able to hold your team accountable and have some sort of metric to show you what you're doing every week, every month, every quarter. So that is a very quick and dry run through Billions. I think that's it. I think we're going to go into the Q&A. Oh, you have more?
One more.
Okay.
But something I'll say just as a pause, right? It sounds like several of you have worked kind of in real estate in one way, shape, or another. If you imagine, like, I don't know how many of you were on something like a big team, but when I was in college and I worked for a real estate team, like managing appointments and deadlines, and you guys have, I'm sure, have been learning and know how important those deadlines and things around commissions and escrow money, and those are real deadlines that somebody could lose the house that they're interested in, which means you could lose a commission just because you missed a date. And these real estate teams juggling 30 transactions plus at a time, there's a lot of opportunity for things to fall through the cracks. And a lot of times right, one day you will all be top agents in your market who are building teams, and you will hire people and you want to make sure that they are giving the same level of customer care that you would have given them personally. And that is some of the challenges that these teams have, is overseeing this team of people, right? Like a business, and making sure that they have visibility into everything that that team is doing and at what level of quality, and making sure that things don't fall through the cracks. And that is a very, very difficult thing in real estate, just because there are a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of things to keep track of. There's a lot of parties involved, right? And even within your own team, you could have an appointment setter, you could have an ISA, an OSA, and then you've got a team lead, and then you've got a, director or whatever. Lots of people doing lots of different individual parts in that client lifecycle, right? That I was showing in this, right? And so when that happens, it creates a lot of potential for things to fall through the gaps. And so that's what we're trying to close for these teams, is giving them a peace of mind that things are being handled the way that they would want. They can see issues as they're arising, right? So if you're thinking that you're going to close $1 million of business this month and you're only on track to do 100,000, you should be seeing that on a daily basis. And I come from tech. A lot of these things are very standard in the corporate world, right? Forecasting, where's my revenue coming from? How much am I spending on ads, and how much revenue am I getting from that? That is table stakes for any company, typically. And what we have seen in this space is that these teams are kind of doing what has kind of anecdotally worked, and it's working until it doesn't work. And that's when things start to fall apart. And, real estate is very seasonal and subject to a lot of external factors. And if you don't have your eye on the ball when the times are good, then you have no idea what happened when something goes wrong. And then you can't weather the seasonality, right? Not to bring up the weather again. But that's sort of the level of rigor that these big high performing teams that are making tons and tons of money, they need in their business, because they need to run like a business. They're no longer like an individual just kind of doing things very organically.
Right. Profit margin on a team, you guys, is very important. There are a lot of payouts and a lot of different costs of goods sold, especially to your brokerage. You have to pay KW, you have to pay Sotheby's. Billions, from a productivity gain from the technology aspect of things, takes all the low hanging fruit tasks that a human at some point will be doing, like putting dates on calendars and setting reminders and remembering to follow up on certain things. Billions takes all of that human aspect out of it. The way we showed you in that live demo was the one and only way to do things. And all the little things that, quite frankly, as a team leader, I did not like having to remember or to write down. And it was frustrating when, Keith on the team went on 10 appointments and I didn't know what happened on any of them. And I never knew, or if I didn't ask him, he wouldn't tell me proactively. So Billions took care of all that and automated all that. So at the end of the day, you can have better margins and focus on more revenue generating expenses instead of focusing on, adding this one date to 20 people's calendar on the team or figuring out where the document is. It just gets rid of all the little things that take up so much time so you can focus on what really matters. At the end of the day, for a real estate team, that is doing more deals, getting more clients, helping more families close on their properties.
Yeah. Cool. All right. I promise I only have one more poll.
What is up, everybody?
I have one more poll for you guys. I swear it's the last one. So we've all been Andrew and I've been talking to you for like almost 30 minutes now. I'm curious, the question is here, what is interesting to you about any of this? And there's lots of tools in the real estate space and they all do all kinds of different things. And I know you guys have had some guest speakers. And some, what we find while you guys are doing the poll is it depends on who we're asking which thing they like the best. Some people who have like a marketing background, they love the marketing stuff. Some people have like more of an operational background like I have, and they love the transaction stuff. Some, we've tried to sell Billions to some smaller teams or, like solo agents, and it's like too big of a system for them. And so, what kind of hooks people in changes. And understanding your buyer, like, real estate is all sales, but like all sales are basically the same. The more you know about your client, the buyer, the better, right? And the more you can kind of tailor what you're doing to them. Oh, you guys like the boring stuff like I do, the transaction management. I love it. Cool. Questions. And you guys can put them into that app or you can just shout them out. We can hear you guys pretty well, I think, but any and all questions don't even have to be relevant. I can tell you my dog's names if you want, or all of Andrew's kids' names.
I can barely hear as is, so if you can't speak a little bit, that'd be really helpful for me.
Sure thing. I want to say thank you. That was very thorough. And what I love that you've brought into this is understanding that being in this industry, you're managing a business.
You are.
It can be transactional, but it's better to work on your business and have a plan and be organized instead of being that transactional agent. We've all seen those, they're going after deal after deal. Once they turn them into the broker, like if they have a closing, but they're missing a few documents, you don't get your check. Like right. You don't get paid. Your file is not complete until all of the boxes are checked, meaning everything needs to be there. So working with Billions, they're with you from start to finish. All of the bits and pieces that you need to manage, the mundane things that you may not like to do. None of us like to really do paperwork, but they do it. They're doing that so that you can focus on what's important. And I think that's important for them to understand as well, is that you're managing a business. Like when you are an independent contractor, you're in charge of your business. You could be on a team, which is great. A team operates as a larger business, depends on the team and how they're set up. But you're basically running a business. So understanding that mindset first really helps people understand how to build their tech stacks, right? And there's a lot of technology out there. Andrew, you know this, there's a lot of technology out there, but it's really finding the technology that's good for you and makes sense for you in your business.
Right.
Yeah. The other thing I'll say is I read a statistic recently. I know that there are a zillion real estate lead gen firms, right? That will sell you leads in some way. But I read a statistic from NAR, National Association of Realtors, that even last year, 2023, I think, because I was reading it last year, so it would have been 2023, 70% of revenue in real estate came from referrals. So that was shocking to me, given the amount of companies that do lead gen in real estate and how interested people are of like, where do you buy leads? Where do you buy leads? How do you get your leads? 70% of the revenue in this business comes from relationships. And one of the things that I think has, from my tech perspective, has gone sideways in this business is that people try to use tech as a replacement for relationship management. It is not. It is an enabler of relationship management. For every minute you're spending doing stupid administrative work, you're not spending with your clients. And the more time you spend with your clients and the more quality control you put around your team spending time with your clients, the more likely that that client is going to refer you another client and another client and another client. And that is how people build sustainable real estate businesses. And so keep that in mind. Like, you know, statistics are all made up, but like real estate is still a relationship business. And there is statistical evidence of that still, even though I know there are 1,000 companies and 1,000 ways that people will try to buy leads or sell you leads. Even if you do that, you should treat that lead as if they are your new best friend, because how you will build a sustainable business isn't by dumping money into a lead gen company. It's going to be by finding a couple of clients that love you and love your team and tell all of their friends about you. And that will sustain you in a less expensive way than paying a bunch of lead gen companies.
Because Billions is so data heavy also, which is very important in running a business as well, to expand on Amber's, if you wind up purchasing leads, track that, know how much you spend and how much revenue comes in to get your return on investment. In real estate, a 4x or a 4 times return on investment is the minimum you want to shoot for. So just keep in mind, for every dollar you're spending, you should return 4 or more.
I'm really glad that you brought that up, because that's something that we've talked about in classes. As much technology we have that helps really streamline things and make us more efficient, it's the relationship, it's the human side of the business that's going to sustain you. And this is great, because once you get your license, you're going to be bombarded with buy this, buy that, purchase this. And it's a great complement to your business. But they are absolutely right. Referrals, that means do a good job, be organized, create raving fans. There's so much more we can talk about when it comes to really investing in the people that you're working with, because they're your biggest advocates out there. So I appreciate you guys bringing up those points. Yes, there's a lot of leads you can buy. Buy something to complement your business, not to replace your business. It's still up to you. People are buying and selling from people they like, they trust, they know, you're professional, you bring value to the relationship. That won't change. Thank you guys for bringing that up.
Yeah, I've never bought anything from somebody I didn't like, for the record.
Well, that's another, exactly. All right, who has a question for the team? Lonnie? Oh, you asked it through the app. Okay, would you mind picking the app? I guess we have a question or two there. Thank you.
Oh, it didn't pop up. Weird. You want to just shoot me your question live?
Okay. I love the setup, but how many cities are you working in, and do you plan to expand?
In case you could not hear him, he was asking how many, you could hear him okay?
Yeah, how many?
Okay,
so
perfect.
We sell to the whole US. We're not location specific. But I don't know if your question was specifically for Andrew and where his team is, though, if you're interested in joining. That's a different answer.
So you're not region specific, so they're a national company, so they can work anywhere with any team that meets the criteria they're looking for. Now, I know we're at the top of the hour. Do you guys have just a few more moments to share with us?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I will say, we sell to customers in the US and Canada because the real estate transaction process is similar in both. It becomes a lot different if we were to go sell in like international markets, right? Because if the rules are vastly different, it becomes a little harder to standardize. Now, one thing I will say, back to the benefits of building on Salesforce, no two teams are exactly the same. And so one of the things that we do every time we bring on a new customer is we sort of understand like how well does our predefined process fit with your actual process. and we can make some tweaks there to make it match, right? People use different words, different, commission structure breakdowns, and we have to add additional things for that. And, there's differences by states, right? Texas, I think, uses attorneys instead of like title agents. And so we've had to make some adjustments like that. But yes, we sell US and Canada because their, real estate rules and regulations and processes are the same.
And we know that very well. So we're selling because we lived it for 10 plus years running a team.
Yeah.
One day, maybe we'll go to Europe, but we'll have to learn how they do it over there.
That's very different. Yeah.
Right.
Other questions? Sorry, I don't know why the app Q&A is not working for me.
Yes. Oh, go ahead, Lonnie. Did you want to continue?
Are your fees negotiable or a set price?
Well, if you ask me, I'd say non-negotiable, but we have a list price. We like when you think about how you sell software, right? Usually a bigger team is going to ask for a bigger discount. We sell, like, our selling model is per user per month, right? So pretty simple. We have a list price. It's on our website. Feel free to go check it out. But obviously if we, are trying to capture a very large team who's got like 100 people, they'll probably squeeze us for a discount. We're still a pretty small early company. And so a lot of the things like onboarding services and custom configuration, I do that. And so we usually offer it for free as a way to kind of get customers. Over time, most software companies will start selling those services, right, and monetizing them. And sometimes, as Andrew mentioned, I got involved initially with Billions because I was doing data migration. If you know anything about software data migration, it's kind of the worst part of software. And so if a customer comes to us and they've got like hundreds of thousands of transactions or leads in some system or some spreadsheet, and they want us to move all those over, we usually charge for that. Interestingly, in our experience, most of our clients that we've acquired end up migrating out of 4, 5, 6 different systems into Billions. And so we are actually pretty inexpensive when they take into consideration the 6 things they were paying for, plus the cost of maintaining 6 things. And we offer them one price that they pay us, and we take care of everything. And so we're pretty competitively priced, I think.
Good question. Thank you. Did you have a question?
Yeah, no, my company used Monday, so
I was gonna
did
ask.
y'all know Monday?
Yep. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Monday's an interesting one. I'm very familiar with Monday. It's a project management tool, and a lot of real estate companies have latched on to project management tools because it keeps you organized. Usually they're using it for something very, very specific, like, oh, I've got a bunch of appointment setters and I need to keep their stuff organized, or their transactions, right? I've got a bunch of dates I need to keep track of and project manage to, essentially. So that's where those tools kind of fit in. We can do all of that. We can also integrate with those tools. That's the other benefit of Salesforce is everybody wants to integrate with Salesforce. And so they have pre-built integrations that we can utilize. And so we also have this concept that we didn't talk about where we do BYA, bring your own apps. And we will integrate them so that you're not shipping data all over the place, right? So a use case for Monday would be all those dates and stuff in the transaction process that Andrew was showing in the demo. We could push those to Monday so that you could project manage, if you love Monday, as a project management tool. So there's lots of options there. One of the things about using a tool like Monday, which isn't built for real estate, is you're going to hit some limitations sometimes in how you're using it, right? It's not going to do all your commission calculation. It's not a marketing tool. And so that's where we start to see people layer on tools on top of one and try to build that out. And then usually you kind of get to a point where maintaining that, the hard cost is expensive. And then there's this like maintenance and, like, to be honest, sanity cost of something broke. Well, which thing was it? And what happened? And now we have to pinpoint it and troubleshoot it, and something changed, and now I have to change it in 5 systems. And that becomes kind of unsustainable at a certain size. For a lot of people though, especially smaller teams or solo agents, project management tools work because it's all they need, and that's totally fine.
Good question. Thank you. Any other questions?
I was gonna ask, as far as competition within the space, do you have any? I know that there's similar products like Monday. I used to use Bonfire for procurement, which is quite similar, I say. But do you have any actually like competition that within your space?
I think it depends, right? If I gotta get my slide to go back real quick. If I go back to like this slide, right? There's competitions in each of these boxes. Or we have seen people try to buy Salesforce and just build it out. That's sort of competition, right? A tool like Follow Up Boss is a competitor for us in like the marketing space, but it doesn't do transactions. But if people don't care about that, then they might pick Follow Up Boss and, you know, pay $7 a month or whatever it is and call it a day. So yes, real estate tools overall, very crowded space, lots and lots of tools. But we haven't found one that like holistically does all of the things, and that's the problem that we're trying to solve. And real estate has definitely adapted non-real estate tools like Monday and all kinds of stuff into real estate, and for some people it works. And, you know, that's fine.
Are there any additional questions? Yes.
Do you all use AI-driven tools with Salesforce? If so, how and why?
We can, and our customers can add those on. We have been I have a whole soapbox about AI if anyone wants to talk after. We can enable those. Salesforce has like 75 plus AI based tools. Any of our customers can add those on. They take a long time to show value is the reason that we haven't just pushed those on people. And if you follow sort of the AI story, a bunch of tools popped up and a bunch of companies closed down pretty fast. And that's because the expectations of AI, I think, were pretty high when it came out. But it takes a long time for AI to learn to give you value. And most people in the real estate space, I will just bluntly say, are not ready for the amount of investment it takes to make an AI tool show you value is the challenge. We've had people ask, we've had people trial tools, and then they have abandoned every single one because they don't give it enough time.
Yeah, one of the biggest AI tools that we are kind of waiting to see what's going to happen, not only because of the productivity and the feature set of the actual tool itself, but the US government and FCC regulation as well. But we're having a lot of people ask us, do you have bots that can talk to people and set appointments and literally call people and set appointments? There are AI tools that do that. But like Amber was alluding to, you have to train it specifically. When someone says this, you need to say that one. And that takes a lot of effort, right? And you have to know what you're doing and sending it in the right direction. The opposite is also true, though. We've had teams that have given us feedback of an AI bot not saying something that they should have said to someone, and that's your reputation on the line. And kind of going back to what Amber said and what Kenya was talking about with the relationship aspect of it, people will know if it's AI and they get that feeling. In real estate, it's really a person-to-person transaction relationship, however you want to label it. Using AI to do that is cool. You can set appointments maybe, but at the end of the day, they want to know that they're talking to a human and interacting with the human. That's why we focus on making it the whole journey simpler and faster and easier, so you can focus on that relationship part and not so much in the tech low-hanging fruit tasks that need to happen on a daily basis.
Yeah, a great use case for AI, which we get to use because we're built on Salesforce, is the analytics space, right? Saying, analyze a report for me and tell me trends. Because you're basically telling it exactly what you want it to tell you. You're giving it a specific set of data and saying, what's interesting about this, right? And that's where it tends to do well. But I will tell you, outside of Billions, if you have very, very unstructured data, there's a phrase in tech, garbage in, garbage out. And AI is currently suffering the garbage in, garbage out affliction right now. AI doesn't magically fix all of your stuff. It doesn't fix all your data problems. It doesn't magically set appointments for you. It learns from what you gave it. And if what you gave it was garbage, it's going to give you garbage. And so before I would ever introduce an AI tool to a customer, I would look at how much garbage is in there. And if they happen to have pristine, perfect data that I'm like, okay, great, you have it together, everybody's aligned, we're all marching the same drummer, then yeah, you could introduce AI to have it start doing some things for you. But there's a risk there. And a lot of people have been burned by trying to just like throw AI at every little thing, right? Like Andrew mentioned, appointment setting. And then they're like, oh God, it said something that it shouldn't have. And then they quickly abandon it because it's, that risk is too high. So I think you have to be really careful. I did a talk on AI, and I can send it to Kenya to share with you guys. Like really short little podcast talk. It's a risk for us, right? To just throw something that is AI into our platform and then hope that it gives them ROI and doesn't screw anything up. It's actually like more of a risk for us to like endorse it than to just turn it on and go, oh yeah, we have AI, right? But the reality is, because we're built on Salesforce, we don't even have to invest in AI. We can just turn stuff on for people. But I don't want someone to have a bad experience with Billions because they turned on some AI and fed it garbage, and then they got garbage, and then they thought Billions was garbage, which is like the opposite of our goal.
Right. To summarize, we're taking AI very slow. It's new. Everyone's just getting to know it. People are getting into it. Use it to help you with blank page syndrome when you're trying to come up with a marketing email or something like that. Don't, in my opinion, use at your own discretion, but I would not have it interact with anybody. I would just use it to help with the things that we just talked about.
I appreciate you guys sharing that, because this also falls into fair housing. Like there's so many things that AI is not properly trained to address.
Exactly.
To compromise the licensees, the code of ethics they've subscribed to, or, there's a lot. So I think it's very smart. We hear AI everywhere and we think it's just kind of this magic pill. It's not. It will be soon. But as Amber said, garbage in, garbage out. There's still a human behind it, but it also hallucinates. It has issues right now that may not be apparent in the industry, again, related to fair housing or any other violation that could really impact an agent. So being that human behind the technology is still optimum.
I think anything that is very administrative, use AI. And Andrew and I use AI, right? There is definitely a use case for AI. I am not a content writer. I will feed a story into ChatGPT all day and say, write me an email. So like those sorts of things I think are perfect for where you want to start interjecting AI. Where real estate, I think, kind of got a little off kilter and then got a little turned off by AI is like, we can set your appointments for you. We can make phone calls for you. You can, but if what you have taught your AI is to cuss out your customer, then when they call the customer, they're going to cuss out the customer. So people started to try tools, not realizing there's a lot of investment you actually have to make them valuable to you. And, I don't say this to insult anyone in that room or ourselves, but real estate is a little impatient with its tools. They want everything to work right now. And that's not how AI works. So that's sort of my cautionary tale is there's like some really thing that you're like, look, I'm not good at writing LinkedIn posts. I don't know how to write an email that's marketing-y and has great SEO and whatever. Or can you rephrase my blog to optimize it for SEO? Great use cases for AI. Legal things, compliance things, right? You have to be super careful. And when you're wanting the AI to interact with a human, you have to be extra careful. So those are the things where I would say, just keep that in mind. Human to human interaction, nothing can beat it. Also, everyone can tell when you're using AI. Everybody knows.
Yeah, there are some shortcuts to take with tech. I don't think having a robot talk to someone is one of them. there's so many other things that can free up your time using technology to do. So start there.
Absolutely. Great advice. Any other questions? Okay, we have gone over by about 15 minutes or so. Thank you all so much for sharing your time and providing real life examples of how technology impacts the way that we do business. So thank you all so much. Really appreciate it.
And our contact info is here, and Kenya has it, obviously. If you have any follow-up or you want to chat about anything or whatever, feel free to reach out.
Right. I ran a team. I know what it's like to be on a team as well. So if any of you have questions about what that might look like as well, I'm happy to talk to you. Just email me and we can set up a time to chat.
Totally.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Have a good
Thank you
night.
all.
You
All right,
too.
bye guys.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Kenya.
All right.